pretty much quite a recent, addition to Netflix, but it's already #1 over this past week in 71 countries, more than 70 countries around the world. Did you expect this kind of reaction when you started into this?
No, of course not. When we made it, it's very colloquial. It's set in a little town up north in England. So we made it with love, honesty, integrity, and respect. And what seems to have happened, it's kind of like a stone, and you throw the stone into a pond, and this ripple effect has been huge, really. Do you know what I mean? But we never meant it to have this impact. We just wanted to tell a truthful and honest story that we came up with.
What would you say you're trying to explore in these 4 episodes?
Basically, I read an article in the paper a good few years ago, and then a couple of months later there was a piece on the news, on the telly, and it was about, there was 2 young boys who'd stabbed these young girls to death, and they were at opposite ends of the country, and it just made me really, if I'm completely honest with you, it really hurt my heart, and it made me wonder why they would do something like this, and what's kind of happened within our society where this thing in Britain has become kind of a regular occurrence. And then, you know that beautiful saying, like your article just before then, your piece, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
Well, what I thought we could look at, is maybe we're all slightly accountable in some way, shape or form. Do you know what I mean? And we look at it and we analyse it from a different perspective. So maybe it's down to parenting. Maybe it's down to, the school system, the government, the community, and the social structure which the child's raised. But on top of that, when me and you were kids, we didn't have the internet, but now the internet is a huge influence on our children. And in many cases, it's parenting our children just as much as we are, and it's educating our children just as much, if not more, than our schools are.
So it's really traumatic. Your dad, obviously, we can hear you off screen telling him to say that he understands. He's a child, he's been accused of a murder, but you then have him sort of pop out of bed and he's wet himself. I mean, there's so much that's telling us the humanity and the madness of what's happening in this moment. Was it traumatic for you when you shot it? I mean, telling this story, how did you decide to show it like this?
We always knew that the format we would use would be in the one shot. And what that kind of does was that enables us to grab the audience straight away. So I knew in my head when I was setting up the idea, when I was talking to Jack, who's our fantastic writer, Jack Thorne, when I wanted us to grab the audience's attention straight away. I'm slightly obsessed with 24 Hours in Police Custody as well, which is, a documentary series at home. And kind of the format, how that we get someone and we arrest them and then we see how the police bring them to trial. And within the concept of this, straight away, I wanted the audience not to think that Jamie was capable of such a horrendous act. And within the format that we use, what we're capable of doing then is taking the audience with the family. So the great thing about this specific style, which our amazing director of photography, Matt Lewis, kind of come up with and created with Phil, the director as well. You've got the audience straight away. So you then have this voyeuristic element with the camera. And as the family are learning and working out what's happened, so too did the audience. So that kind of concept of him, with him wetting himself, any 13-year-old boy with the police coming through the front door with guns, it would frighten the life out of you, you should imagine. So we wanted to try and make him as real and as authentic and as human as possible straight away. And as it unfolds, the audience could be thinking, maybe he couldn't have done this, or could he have done this? And then when they find out that he has done it, we realise as an audience the same way the family realise in the real time. And that was the great technique of what we've done. The final episode, I wanted to really look at the impact that it would have on the family.
Yeah.
Because again, within a conventional drama, and rightly so, rightly so within a conventional drama, we would normally follow the victim, the family of the victim, and that's what, that's where the heart is, of course. But within this one, I wanted to follow the family of the perpetrator, because when I think I've kind of got myself together. I'm 51 years of age, and I'm a decent man. But I found myself judging when I watched it on the news. When I heard about this young boy who'd stabbed this young girl, I thought, it's got to be the parents. And then there was a moment where I went, I hit a moment of clarity and went, no. What if it's not the parents?
Yeah.
Don't jump to that immediate
Okay.
conclusion.
What are you saying about the manosphere and the toxic and the influences that these, I mean, when you explored it, what did you come out with? The influences that these young kids have, independent of their parents, because we see the parents having said, oh, he used to shut himself in his room, we gave him a computer, we had no idea he was doing, you as the dad, he was doing this kind of stuff.
Of course. It's that kind of sexualization now of young girls and young boys, you know what I mean? Which I think the internet is hugely to blame for that kind of thing. And that particular point within our script, I've got two friends who are from two completely different social backgrounds within, in England. One from up north and one from down south. And they have daughters who one goes to a comprehensive school and one goes to a private school. And both their daughters' friends groups were asked by one of their boyfriends to send photos of them topless. And so what I realized from that is that this is not like a class thing. This is a social thing. Do you know what I mean? It goes right across the board. To what kind of degree is that considered acceptable? And on top of that, it's that kind of, because I think in many ways, look, we're not pointing the finger at anyone specifically. And that was never our intention. Do you know what I mean? We're a drama that's wanting to raise the question and sit down and have these discussions about why.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the research that we showed. Jack did a lot of research on this project, and he said it took him down a lot of dark holes. The access that he found through the internet.
So that's what I want to ask
the kind
you.
Of thing.
Yeah, I want to ask you that because I got only a little bit of time. So the Prime Minister of this country talked about this program in Parliament, said that he's watching it with his teen children. I know that you have children. What do you want the impact of it to be? Like in Australia, they've just banned children from social media, until they're 16, I think. They can't go on till they're 16.
I think that's something that we should look at. I think there's a way of look. And again, people will say freedom of speech, which I understand, but there's a difference between freedom of speech and poison. Do you know what I mean? I think we need to be very mindful and very, very, very careful about what we're influencing our young generation and what we're allowing them to see. Do you know what I mean?